Howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of DevOps Diaries, where today I am joined by the lovely Raksha. Raksha, hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hey. So I'm really delighted to be here, Jack, with you.
I'm very, very delighted that you said yes to joining me. I'm very excited for the conversation that we're about to have, given all your experience in all things DevOps.
I hope I can be useful and more beneficial for the community that what we are trying to do for.
Of course. I mean, you already are beneficial to the community. You lead the London Architect user group, a whole bunch of other things, always supporting women in tech and all the other amazing things. So you already do that.
It's always little counts, right?
Every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. So it is a pleasure to have you. I've already given people a little bit of an idea of what you do, but in your own words, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, Raksha?
Sure. So work for Fluido Infosys, and I'm a solution consultant / architect for them. Also a trainer at Salesforce. Not just for Fluido, but I do my own personal training, and I've done a lot of training for others, for community members for free. And I've done not last year before, I trained 300 individuals to be a Salesforce admin to a developer.
Wow.
I count
Yeah.
myself, that's number one. My
Oh,
priority list.
Raksha, you just said I do a little bit for the community. You do a lot for the community. 300 people. Wow. What's that experience like, training folks to be
It
developers
was
when they're
brilliant,
on
to be
that admin
honest with
journey?
you. No doubt it was a time consuming and a very heavy pressurizing in that way, because obviously every individual you speak to, their journeys are different. So you're
Mm,
not training them one to one, you're training them into they their expectations, and you need to be on their toes as well as your own toes, to be on their level that they really expect from you. But it's beautiful. It's something that I think I'm proud to say that sits in my genes from my
um,
family.
of course, of course. What's your Salesforce journey like been like? Is that a journey that's mirrors your own? Were you admin, developer, architect, or what did that look like for you? And what you're saying there about everybody's journey being different, I'm sure is going to be highly resonant for a lot of the listeners. You know, there's not the
100%.
same path.
100%. So funniest thing, I'm masters in computer science, but that's only education. I didn't do no IT work. So when I came to IT back in, means I left IT years back, a long years back. And then I was doing events and parties, and then I became a school finance officer and auditors and stuff like that. So there's nothing to do with the computers or anything to do with any software training or IT or programming or anything. And due to COVID, I end up doing Salesforce. And in last 5 years, my journey started as a just a basic junior admin to where I am today. But thank you to community, they supported me and took, you know, help me and support me. That's I'm giving it back what they gave it to me.
Amazing, amazing. You're such a good human, and thank you for all you do and all your support in the community. That's amazing. Are there any? I'm really curious. Are there any skills that you picked up from being like a school financial officer, or any of those previous experiences and events that you found super useful when transitioning to Salesforce?
Yes. First one is consistency, and in my eyes, very much you to be a learner. Acceptance, change, that all the key skills which not related to Salesforce, but it is related to any industry or anywhere you want to work or you want to grow or involve yourself into. You should have that. And I think that gave it to me, that I'm ready to adapt anytime I want to adapt whatever I want to adapt and move on.
Yeah, of course, of course. Speaking of consistency, adaptability, and change, let's talk about DevOps a little bit because you do a lot of DevOps related activities. You're Capado champion, very, very embedded in software delivery and getting the most out of the software delivery lifecycle for your clients and for the businesses that you work with. What's your ethos when it comes to DevOps? What makes DevOps successful in organizations?
For me, the way I look at it is first of all, people need to understand what is a culture, what is the acceptance, what is the requirements, how the client operates, what are the core niche is the stabilities and the trust that any Capado or any DevOps, let alone Capado, you go to Guess or you go to Flossom, anything, you have to be ready to change the client's change sets, basic change sets to DevOps to make their life easy with with the with all the requirements,
Yeah,
knowing confidence in them to that you know that you're not going to misuse their data as well, and stabilities they don't have to, their deployments are easy, their processes are easy, and smoother to extend future sakes as well.
yeah. Is showing them that stability and the improvements that you can make for them, is that
Yeah,
key to building trust, or are there steps that you have to take to build that
both,
trust before you can start changing things?
both. It is trust as well, because if you don't have, and obviously it's the steps you need to, if you don't do the steps correctly, you are gonna, people think, oh, it's just a basic DevOps. No, it's not. There's a lot of common mistakes people do make in that as well, that they forget that they need to understand not just a basic quality bypass and speed. They need to understand the data, and if data is being transferred, are there any dependencies? People ignore them. And that is key, that element, that DevOps, you know, you need to understand it. And when you're giving it back to client, that is what the client looking into it is, do you have your version control and stabilities? Do you have your automation tools? What automation tools are you referring to, and why for them? Are they really visible for their requirements? And obviously finance comes in there as well. And lastly, very importantly, is importance of the automations and backup that people do forget in DevOps.
Yeah, yeah. I see backups being forgotten or still not considered part of a DevOps process. Like all the time, they keep the ecosystem still treats them as two separate things, but
It's not
you can't you can't move forward and you can't move faster without levels of security and safety
100%.
that you're going to be able to do it.
100%.
Yeah.
We have
Um.
to,
Yeah. Go.
as a, I'm proud to say I am DevOps. Um, I don't differentiate. It depends on the client, what client wants. Like if they want clear sets, they want Blossom, they want to do the version control or not. They want to use a Git, or they want to use JSON. They want to use. So I only give them options. Yes, I do vouch for Capado because that's what I'm champions of, and um, I do like women to go further, and it is smoother in my eyes because that's the first thing I learned. Even funniest thing, before starting Salesforce, I started Cavado. So for me, that is something that I will never forget in that way, because that's the journey I've been told. If you want to be successful in Salesforce, even admin, you should know. Don't rely on chain sets. Please, can you know something else? And that's the first thing I learned was a DevOps Cavado for me.
Yeah.
That's something, it's in me in
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. When I say to folks in the ecosystem, when I'm out presenting at events or what have you, I ask them what is and isn't DevOps, or what's your opinion on what DevOps is and what DevOps isn't. And a lot of folks will say using change sets is not DevOps, and I have to say you're only kind of right. you can still use change sets and still be doing DevOps. It's just not the most effective way of doing DevOps. It's not.
It's slow,
It's not
that's
the
all.
tool that's going. It's
Yeah.
not the tool that's going to take you to the promised the promised lands. But to your point of what you said, to me, it is about that trust and collaboration and the vision of the places that you want to get to for your Salesforce org, the platform, and how you utilize the platform. You know, you can't, like, if you look at implementing like RCA or building a new community site or building, I don't know, implementing another cloud, you know, the service cloud. If you don't have the pathway for delivering that change and delivering that program, you don't have a well-defined DevOps process, then you're not going to get anywhere. So that's really interesting that you started with the DevOps platform before really diving into Salesforce.
It is interesting in that way because obviously that made my foundation stronger.
Mm.
When you're going as even admin, people say, oh, I'm just an admin. I don't need to do any developments. Or I don't need to do any transfers or anything. I said, no, you do. You're doing any configurations or you're doing any basic, even say building apps, right? That's part of admin anyways. You do need it. You can't say it's not part and parcel. It's a developer's job. No, it's not. But if you don't know your foundations, you are going to fail. And I think it's not everything in Salesforce. Core Salesforce is very big and I love it. I'm proud of it. I am Salesforce, trailblazer. But that is like a foundation ground that you need to have it, stability straight. And if you don't put it, you are going to collapse. So to understand it and to make your life as well as clients' life easy, it has to be in a structured manner. And DevOps does that job for us and makes it faster. That's the main thing. It's not just a process in one manner. A process with the security, a process with the trust, a process with the automations, a process with the speed, a process in a different angles if you look at it.
Yeah. Say a client comes to you and they still use change sets and they're having problems with their releases. What's the first thing that you look at in terms of their process or structure, and what's your advice to them? So say we have a listener listening to this today and saying, we still use change sets, we're drowning here in the amount of change that we've got to deliver, the amount of new requests, whether that be, backlog items, bug fixes, or new functionality. Where do you start in revamping a DevOps process? In your mind, what's the most common thing that you see and the most common thing that you fix first?
To understand their delivery methods, that's the first thing I will look into it. How they process our really basic changes are. And see that, is so if you go as, let me put it down as non-profits examples, right? Not everybody can afford it, but I do tell them, like, example, I did do this initial stages for use Capado because I am vouching for Capado in that manner, but then I haven't used other tools in that way, but for free tools, because Capado gives you free. Use a Capado. See, learn how easy it is. I do one or two deployments or the process with them to show them how easy it is, right? And make their life easy in the sense of just working out, getting a basic Git structured, CI/CD in place, and that's where I start looking into it and showing them the difference. This is what you've did. This is if you've done it this way. This is the answer and how the process has made the changes for you. Once you see the one change on there, and because, as I said, I do a lot of Capado work, so then if I show them just of one configurations of change of deployments, it just intrigues because it's not people they just never used it, so they're scared of using it. So you do it on their sandbox. Just show them how difference does it makes. Once you show them that difference, people will automatically do it.
Yeah, is it
It's
one of those things? Yeah, is it one of those things if you show people what the possibilities are they then more confident in your minds to go and then
yeah,
learn Git or
yeah,
version control? Because that's the biggest thing. The one of the sessions that I deliver quite regularly is Git for admins or version control for
yeah.
admins. And I find that when they see it, it's not so scary anymore. You know, once they've seen it once and they see the possibilities, it's not so scary. Then they will be encouraged to go and learn.
Trust me, once you show them, I have given a video to my clients, right? I show them because sometimes you don't have that touch time. So I just show them the video. Okay, this is only literally 3 minutes video. How the chain sets of basic chain sets to a quadro chain sets or guess it. I have actually guessed that one as well. So just see this. When they see it physically, somebody done it in 3 minutes. 3 minutes video is not a big video, but that video literally, oh, I want to learn this. How do we do this? How do we process? Then you go into the training mode. Don't jump into it. Don't change everything for them because that doesn't work for them. Sometimes 3 minutes video does a big job than even doing the whole process with them as well.
Yeah, that's that's so interesting. It's such a great comment. You know, don't do everything for them. Show them
No.
the possibilities. It really resonates with. I had Kurt Kemple, who's the senior director of developer relations for Slack, on the podcast recently, and he was talking about demos and what people want to see, and he was just like, show me 60 to 70% done. Show me what is possible, and then let me go figure out the rest. Let's see what else is possible
Yeah.
after that. And so what you're saying there really resonates. You know, give them the vision, show them what could be possible, and allow them to then take the next steps forward in their learning journey. And you know, they might learn something different first. You know, what you think is most important isn't necessarily what I think is most important. They're all important, but we all have opinions and perspectives. And organization to organization, they're going to have maybe similar challenges, but somebody else's deployment challenges aren't going to be worse than another person's deployment challenges. They might be struggling more with visibility into their orgs and their API usage or things like that.
See, I always say when I'm training somebody, I say there are three kind of people, three type of peoples. First one, they will believe in seeing is believing. The second one is like to hear it, everything. Wants to hear everything, see it, then they'll think about it. And the third one is very much as individual. They like to read it. They need to experience it themselves to believe in it. So in my eyes, demo does all three in one. So when you do a basic demos, for anything, right? Even a clients, when I'm going for the meeting, first thing I tell them, okay, I'm sending you these details. Please, can you watch this demo before we join the meeting? The reason is because that already, either they will have a lot of questions for me, either the doubts are gone. Their visionary is in line with my visionaries, and then it helps them to entreat, and whatever you give it to them, then they will ready to listen. But if they don't understand anything at all, they will ignore you because it's too much for overwhelming for them to accept. And remember, we do say it. It's a scientifically proven 70% of people don't accept acceptance very quickly. And DevOps is part of acceptance.
Really interesting. Interesting. What's
That's not my calculation. I've read it somewhere in Google.
uh, yeah, is there a time where you've been working with a client and they were initially skeptical of the impact that transforming DevOps could have, and
Oh.
it was ultimately a huge success? And what was that like?
So let me tell you one time when we had one thing gone wrong because people didn't put down the safety rollback positions in place. They didn't have a metadata done. They didn't have a deployment policy on. They didn't have. So obviously this sort of things was not even explained to them in DevOps at the beginning. But when you put that strategy in the right manner, it automatically helped my client not just to do the process correctly, speed up the work, and their deployment became smoother for them to say, yes, thank you. Skeptical is not a wrong thing. Actually, it's a good thing. When person is skeptical, that means they want to know more. When they're resilient, that's when the problem is. When they're on a denial mode, then there is a problem. If they're not in denial mode, they're skeptical, that means they are ready to make changes if you show them a correct ways. So
Skepticism
I'll give you an
skepticism
example.
is curiosity, right?
Client, I had another client who did use a DevOps, some other tool. I'm not going to name one thing, and I'm not going to say the tool I gave it to them as well, because that's client stuff. But say they use that DevOps tools, but in a wrong manner. As I just explained it to you, the strategy wasn't in correct manner. Everything has to be in correct manner. If you don't, even normal coding is going to break. Forget about anything else. But DevOps does make that tools, and especially when you put any automation tools in there, right? And if you put it in a correct manner, it's not the efficiency, but the deployment easy. And that's where when I showed them that even in here, you could have done this or this. Now choice is yours. Please work on it. And they did go for the new one. But yes, it is part and parcel of the tools that you show them and how you utilize them with them.
Yeah. I think to your point about, if things are easier, then people are happier. And then if happy people make productive people, and productive people are good for the business, right? That's why I'm really, really passionate about DevOps, and everything that you're saying is really resonating with me. You know, that process and the structure as a baseline foundational level for overall productivity of a Salesforce team outside of DevOps, just building and creating great features, and ultimately like trust. So you mentioned trust a couple of times. If your Salesforce users can trust you as a Salesforce team to deliver new features, fix bugs if and when they occur, because ultimately bugs do happen. But if they can trust you to fix them in an effective manner and deliver their new features quickly, because you have a great DevOps process, because you have all your ducks in a row, you're able to deliver that change at a higher velocity and more securely, more safely, with less bugs. Then your users are going to be happier and your relationships with them is going to be happier, and you get better results for the business too from multifaceted angles.
You asked me a few minutes back regards to the first thing I would do is put things in their culture as well. Put it that is like a habit. They have to follow these steps. They put it into their mindsets that if I do this, I don't need to come back because it does the automation train for me. When you put this DevOps in a culture manner, it doesn't just continuously improves, but it delivers faster. And the main thing is you will have a lesser and lesser, how do I put it down, as when we talk about quality is more important than quantity. So your quantity get lesser and the quality will get improved day by day if you put this in your culture. And I put that every time when I'm doing change sets to automations of CI/CD that way.
Yeah. It's that like analogy. The amount of time you spend with somebody isn't down to how much time it is. It's the quality of the time that you spend with them and what you do with them.
Yeah.
You can spend all day with somebody just sitting there like watching TV or whatever. That's not. I mean, that might be your thing. That might be your love language or whatever it is.
That's different.
But if if you're doing something and, you know, building, like sat on the sofa for 8 hours not talking and no TV or no nothing, then, you know, you spend 8 hours with them, sure, but if you spend half an hour having a great conversation with somebody and building the relationship with them in that short amount of time, the less is more, you know?
I always believe in that. If you even try spending 1 minute with somebody or 15 minutes with somebody, if they're getting one thing out of it, that's still beneficial than nothing. But you need to be in line with the other person as well. You have to put it into the mindsets of acceptance, as I said, mentioned the first thing in the beginning. Acceptance is it's a key. Tools are very important. Putting strategy, it's very important. Putting, continuous training yourself as well. Sometimes say you're trained yourself. Oh, I know everything. That's it. You're failed already. But if you're not ready to improve yourself every day, that's not going to be taking you anywhere.
Yeah.
I still say I don't know DevOps. I literally say I don't know DevOps after having a 38 or the Gearset that DevOps certs as well as Kabado 8 certs. I still say it because if I stop now, I will never improve.
Yeah.
I never know. Say, Jack, you
Absolutely.
do your DevOps different way than me, maybe. Okay, fundamental, the infinity sign of the cycle, fair enough. But still, you may have something that you do better than me in that way, out of all those 8 visions. All 8 steps we can do it in different life cycles, isn't it? Different ways.
Yeah. And what might work for me might not work for you. And, you know, you look at like an enterprise size organization, you know, like multiple Salesforce orgs, 100 Salesforce staff on their Salesforce team versus, to use your example earlier, non-profit, again, with maybe 2 admins, maybe a contract developer. How they go about things is going to be very different. Ultimately, their measure of success is different as well.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference, and people don't realize that. Oh, it's they put certain companies' data as like, oh, it's a very small company. We don't need this and we don't need that. No, you do. No, you do, because just to make your life easy, not today. You're here today. You may not be here tomorrow. You may position change tomorrow. Then, but if you make it as a culture that this is the process, then everyone's happy and they know where to get to.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things, especially when I started my career at Gearset. I worked at Gearset for 6.5 years now, and in the early days of when I was an account executive here at Gearset, like a lot of folks would be like, but we've built our own DevOps tooling. We had a developer come in and build the CI/CD platform through GitHub Actions or Atlassian pipelines or whatever else it was. And you ask them the question, okay, what if that person leaves? And they go, they're not leaving. And you can see that worry in their brain. It's just like, okay, that your whole foundation, your whole process is going to break if one person leaves. You know, like people don't stay in their jobs, you know, forever with one organization, especially not now. You know, they might have done 30 years ago, like career company was a thing. It's not a thing now, never mind in tech, you know.
Anywhere, anything.
Exactly. So to your point, embedding that in a culture and encouraging folks to level up and understand software delivery lifecycle best practices, practice it, and how to apply those practices or tweak those practices based on your organizational needs is hugely important.
It has to be there, especially if you count yourself as any person who counts themselves as a developer, admin, architect, and you don't know the life cycle. how are you going to take it forward? How are you going to give them a version control? How are you going to give them the automation? How are you going to sort of resolve the QAs? Let alone any implementations, backups is important, as I said before. And people do forget. It is still part of a life cycle people don't understand.
Mhm. Mhm. You mentioned data quite a few times here. What's the key in your mind to getting your data strategy right and making sure that your Salesforce production org is ultimately healthy?
So as I just said now as well, even if you're putting it to win, if I need to win any of my strategy, so I will do the first one thing I will check into is my version controls are in place in correct manner. Second, automations are there. If there is, are they going to the right QA promotions and stuff like that? Implementations automated. Is the backup in there? Or confidence in there that is the trust layer is on top. If it's not, check it again. Do it one more time. It's nothing. Check which tools are better. Every tools, yes, not every tools does everything. You need to know what is good for your client. How are these dependencies and data are being implemented? Has anyone done that control checks? Is your automation tool does the control checks? If yes, what are your percentages levels are? Have you ever checked those percentages? Oh yeah, it worked. Oh, it's gone through. Oh, it passed. No. Have you ever checked your control versions? Have you ever checked your parameters? Sometimes you can just put anything in there and parameters may pass. But have you checked it? What the level of dependencies are? All these are very small things, but people do intend to not put it in, as I said again, as a culture. Put it in your culture, put it in your best practice, put it in people's mindsets, which goes with which. There's so many tools are available today's day. See, work with it, play with it. And thanks to Trailhead, thanks to Salesforce giving us a free platform to play with it. For partners, we have Learning Camp. Utilize it. They are giving you the orgs to play around with it. It's not harming anyone. But if you're not going to learn it, as I said, again, you need to be a learner in that. To put it into the best practice. What speed you need to work under. Say if you're taking bypassing Git, why? What skipping automations are you using? Which test tools are you using? Is this test tools are visible or not? But they're all part of a DevOps that people do intend to forget. It is still part and the layers of it. If I'm making any sense there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you mentioned is what what are people skipping? Where are people taking a shortcut? Why are those people taking those shortcuts? And improve that area so people don't have to take the shortcuts, so you can stay compliant, remain robust throughout the process. And ultimately at the end of the day, I think one of the big things that can be forgotten maybe sometimes by Salesforce teams is ultimately where we do these things so users can have a great experience, and so the business, like Salesforce, is still a strategic platform for change and visibility into customers, and being able to provide a great service for the business. And if we're skipping parts of our software delivery lifecycle because it's easier, or that part is tedious, or what have you, then okay, what do we need to improve to make sure that we can stay robust? We can still deliver change quickly, but with those guardrails and with those things in place, so that we can keep everybody happy. It's our job as a Salesforce team to keep a lot of people happy, and that's a huge burden to bear, I think, for a lot of Salesforce teams, whether they realize that's what their job is or not. That's what I think the crux of all of this is,
But
in this
then
ecosystem.
that's, if I look at it right correctly, Salesforce has put, or Capado has put, or Get has put one thing is the community there, community leads there. That's what their jobs are. Yes, you are getting recognitions, but then it's not just a recognition, is it? It is a responsibilities. And they do choose a correct visibility people that who really do believe in the drives, like you and me. Like people, I'm proud, all these community leaders are doing amazing jobs, let alone just in one place. They do it for Gaza, they do it for Cardo, they do it for Slack, they do it for CI/CD, they do it for VS Code, anything, any tools. But there are leaderships in everything and everywhere.
Mhm.
And DevOps is so fundamental key that if the strategy is in place, it just doesn't just empowers your account strategies. It every team's accountability counts in there. Ownership works in there. Releases works in there. Responsibility works in there. And learning again, not just by learning, is it? Like example, I got this certs, but to earn that certs, I had to study. I had to do this. And the end result is when the client tells you, yes, Raksha, you've done this. Yes, you have done this. Yes, you have achieved this. Not in the certification. Certification is just a step that, yes, I know about it. But when the client says, yes, my deployment went well, everything was so smooth, we didn't have to spend too much time. Okay, as you said, one of the client, I'm so proud to say, they were so reluctant, and once they agreed and they approved, and they got their deployment timescales of they were literally looking at the whole quarter to quarter basis, and it improved for 10 to 20% of their timescales. And that joy of the enjoyments you get from the client, nothing better than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing better than making people happy, is there?
That's it. And they don't come back to you, fine, you're losing a client in that way, but you're not really losing it, because then they recommend you to somebody else. Oh, please use this way, or go to this person, they will do it for you and set it out for you. Go to this organization. This organization is so good at this.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
that manner, I'm really happy that I've got, touch wood, a good company I'm working with at the moment. So my organization let me have a free chance to do whatever I want to do as well, as I believe in it.
Yeah. And what you're doing is spreading joy. And what's better than spreading joy? we
That's
need
it.
we need more of that, and need more of that in the planet. Especially I feel these days. The bunch of uncertainty. The more people can spread joy
Yeah,
and happiness, the better in whatever facet that is.
that's
Um,
amazing.
whether you're doing DevOps and improving that for your team and for your users, or whether you're building kick-ass dashboards and reports or something like that makes
Doesn't
sales
matter.
leaders happy or business leaders happy. It doesn't matter. Just make people happy.
And work talks. If you are consistent, your consistency shows.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Raksha, do you have any further parting wisdom that you'd like to leave people with? It can be anything, DevOps related or Salesforce related, community related. What's your
I
message
do
to
have,
message to the ecosystem?
my message is be consistent, be accountable, be reliable, be trustworthy, and be a learner. Please don't stop learning. And whatever you learn, I believe one more thing in there is, if you don't share it, that means you have not learned it yet. Please start sharing it back to the community. Whatever you go and throw out, it comes back to you. So it comes with abundance. So learning is one thing that really gives you high abundance. So if you believe in something, consistently do it. But if something is wrong, find out how you can empower. How can you improve? How can you endorse something that can take you to the next level?
Beautiful message. Beautiful message. Raksha, thank you so much for your time and agreeing to come on the podcast and spending this time with me and with the listeners. I really appreciate and value your outlook on life. And every time I bump into you, whether it be in London or wherever it is, it's always a joy and a pleasure to speak to you. So I very much enjoyed this time, and I hope the listeners have as well.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much for this. And thank you, everybody. And please, I hope it helps everyone much as it can. I tried my best to answer.
you did your best and then some. I promise you. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of DevOps Diaries. If you enjoyed the episode, please like and subscribe on whatever platform that you happen to be listening on. It really helps me and helps Raksha out for future endeavors. So please do that, and I will catch you all again on another episode sometime soon. Thanks, Raksha.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.